Hi, my name's Hannah Miller. I'm going to be talking about domestic abuse and violence and the impact it has on individuals who are involved. I'm going to be talking about how violence starts in a relationship, why abusers abuse, the impact domestic abuse has on children, leaving an abusive relationship, seeking help once you've escaped an abusive relationship, and PTSD and complex PTSD. This is a very important issue to discuss because of how prevalent domestic abuse is in our society today. There's still so much stigma and shame associated with being in an abusive relationship, and not addressing it is not going to make the problem go away. So next I'm going to list off the steps that usually happen leading to an abusive relationship, and they usually occur in this order. One, the victim of domestic abuse will initially be seduced and charmed by their perpetrator, which can seem totally normal at the beginning of a relationship. Two, the perpetrator will do anything to isolate the victim from their friends and family and try to sever the ties that the victim has. Three, the perpetrator will introduce violence and see how the victim reacts to it. If the victim allows this to happen, they know that it can continue, and if they are thrown off by the violence, they introduced it too soon. And four, once the victim is completely under the control of the perpetrator, the abuse will escalate and it can become life-threatening to the victim. Usually when discussing domestic abuse, the questions are usually directed towards women, like why didn't she just leave, or what did she do to deserve the abuse? I think a new question that is important and that should be asked is, why does the abuser abuse? Some of these reasons include they don't know how to handle their feelings if they are hurt, a sense of entitlement over their partner, a lack of empathy and accountability, and some unaddressed trauma that has made them the way they are. In many settings of domestic abuse, children are often seeing the incidents, hearing the incidents from another room, or seeing the aftermath of physical abuse, whether that be a black eye or bruises on one of their parents' body parts. Research suggests that 3 to 4 million children between ages 3 to 16 are at risk of exposure to domestic violence each year. As I said before, young boys who are seeing their fathers abuse their mothers are 2 times more likely to abuse a partner in a future relationship, and girls who are seeing their mother being abused by their father are more likely in the future to become victims of domestic violence themselves. Next, I'm going to be talking about what it's like to leave an abusive relationship. This can be extremely difficult for a victim because they have been socially isolated from their friends and family. They don't really have anyone that they can go to talk about what they're going through. They've been psychologically beaten down. They don't really know who they are anymore because they've been treated a certain way for so long. They've been financially controlled and physically threatened. Many victims hope that their partner will change, but due to the psychological and emotional problems of the perpetrator, the abuse will most likely continue. Deciding whether or not to leave an abusive relationship usually includes a few determining factors. These include whether the victim has material resources like employment and income. This will be able to help them live on their own and away from their partner if they do leave the relationship. Another factor is social, psychological factors, like their commitment to the relationship. They have to know that they won't go back to the relationship because they can't endure the abuse anymore. Once escaping the abusive relationship, victims must establish safety, remembrance and mourning, and reconnection to impose order in their lives. Creating safety with friends and family is extremely important because it restores power in their lives and lets them control what they do and when they do it. Therapeutic work can begin after safety is established. Remembrance and mourning is also very important because the victim has to be able to address their past traumas and talk about it in order to move on and recreate the flow that they had in their life prior to being in the abusive relationship. Domestic abuse is a very important issue to be discussing right now. There's still so much shame and stigma associated, and it's very prevalent in our society today. While I think it's important to teach people about warning signs, coping strategies, and exit strategies, I think we also need to be asking why are abusers abusing. This is something that goes a little bit deeper, but I think addressing it could make a huge difference in people's lives. That is all I really have to say. Thanks for listening. Sorry for it being a little dark. Thank you.